What is up, YouTube? I'm Devon DaVinci, leader of the Renaissance Crew. You are the Renaissance Crew if you subscribe to this channel. I only say that because a lot of people ask me what exactly is the Renaissance Crew, so there you go. And you are watching DaVinci Reacts. Today I'm going to be getting into another Geography Now reaction. This is Geography Now Denmark, or Geography Now Does Denmark. And just a quick heads up, I told you guys I was going to do particular countries in order. Now I'm at the point where I'm doing it random because I've taken care of all the older civilizations for the most part, so I don't really, there's not really any other countries that I can think of that were like the dawn of civilization countries. So if you happen to know one, let me know. Like, I don't know what the what was it, Machu Picchu? I don't know what country that would be considered now. Like, I know that country that's in that area, but I don't know if the culture is still there. So let me know what the dawning civilization countries are, and I'll continue to do reactions to them. And I will do a reaction to Spain and Portugal. Those are two European countries I forgot to do, so I will have to do those at some point. But I'm doing this now because I promised somebody that I would check out the Scandinavian countries next, and this is, well, obviously Denmark. Let's jump into it and see what it has to offer.
Remember in the Angola episode I mentioned how I went to Denmark one time and bought a sandwich that was $21? Well, this was that sandwich, and my reaction was like, $21? Oh, this better be the best sandwich I've ever had in my life.
Was it?
You got lucky.
I say, was it?
It's time to learn geography now!
Hey everybody, I'm your host Barbie, Legos, Vikings, and Roll mit Flor. We got a lot to cover, so let's jump in. Denmark, the link between the rest of Europe and Scandinavia. So much to discuss. Denmark is classified as a Nordic country, hence located in the Northern European region, even though it's kind of like the southernmost state in the Nordics. Full disclaimer, ignore Wikipedia. I'm gonna pronounce the location names in their proper Danish context.
I wonder if it actually is
Denmark is made of the Jutland, not Jutland, peninsula that
was
connects
part
to
of that
Germany in the south,
peninsula
as well as
thing.
1,419 islands. Of those, only 443 are named, and 74 are
don't know
inhabited.
enough.
The largest
I could
island
very
being
well be
Sjælland,
wrong. I
not
probably am
Zealand, which is not to be confused with Dutch Zeeland, which is not to be confused with New Zealand, although they did get their name.
I can't take it! That's too much information!
It is connected to Fyn.
No, it's not enough. I've watched Bill Wirt's videos. Trust me, it's not enough information at one time.
Well, they did get their
I
name.
can't take it! That's too much information!
It is connected to Fyn Island, not Finn Island, by the Great Belt Bridge completed in 1998. The country is divided into 5 regions, the capital being Copenhagen, located on Sjælland. Copenhagen is home to a myriad of historical sites, palaces, statues, residential units that are all the same height and style, with pockets of colorful, quaint, cozy shops and cafes, and dangerous bicycle lanes that you are not supposed to walk on. Now, this is where things are gonna get a
Seriously, you
little
will
spiced
die.
up. And by spiced up, I mean freezing cold and covered in whale blubber. Denmark, for those of you who didn't know, is a kingdom, one of the last surviving ones in Europe, and is currently under the headship of chain-smoking Queen Margaret II. These still fall under Danish sovereignty and make up the massive Greenland island and the little Faroe Islands. Both of these places are radically different from mainland Denmark. For one, Greenland is primarily inhabited by native Inuit tribal peoples that live on the island and is 80% covered in ice year-round. The Faroe Islands are a conglomeration of 20-ish mystical, cloudy, windy islands that have this crazy-looking lake that looks like it's about to spill.
Somebody explained to me, was this the location that The Force Awakens was recorded in? This looks like if you hit the right corner at the right time, you'll see Luke Skywalker sitting there. It has that look to it.
Of 20-ish mystical, cloudy, windy islands that have this crazy-looking lake that looks like it's about to spill over the cliffs into the ocean. These two areas have their own self-governing home rule, otherwise only depending on Denmark for military, justice, currency, and foreign affairs. Otherwise, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, historically, they did try to kind of create an empire by colonizing parts of the Caribbean, Ghana, India, and then in the Nicobar Islands and the Indian Ocean, but they kind of ran out of money and ended up selling everything to other countries. Too bad. It would be awesome to see people in the Indian Ocean speaking Danish. Nonetheless, mainland Denmark is kind of like a fast-moving economic machine. Let's talk about how. Now, when it comes to land makeup, Denmark is pretty flat. I mean, the highest point, Møllehøj, is only about 170 meters tall, and it looks like this. Otherwise, only about 13% of the country is forested, including the tree plantations, and the rest is pretty much used for agriculture that can produce enough food to feed about 15 million people. It's about 3 times the size of their entire population. Good for you, Denmark. But one thing Denmark is actually famous for growing is non-produce plants like grass, fodder, and Christmas trees. The highly sought-after Danish Nordmann fir has been classified as the Rolls-Royce of Christmas trees, and every year investors from Germany, the Netherlands, and even the UK jump in at the end of November and grab whatever they can before it's gone. Now, one thing you need to know is that like many other areas in the Nordic region, Denmark's weather can be quite dreary. First of all, Denmark is the only Nordic country that doesn't really get a lot of snow. Denmark is kind of like the mud pit located below the jet stream blocked by Norway and the UK. This means that even though it gets really cold, pressure systems rarely cause snow. This is also pretty much why everybody dresses like a J. Crew fall fashion line model on the streets. If you're gonna get wet and freezing, you may as well look good while doing it. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, pretty much the rest of Denmark is just rolling green plains with sandy beaches and quirky little islands that people like to hop over for camping trips in the summer. If we were gonna talk about Greenland and the Faroe Islands, we would get a radically different story of mind-boggling, captivating cliffs, bluffs, sea stacks, glaciers, fissures, icebergs, and mountains. If you don't know what a Mulan is, it's not this, but
Damn it, I was gonna say
this.
This Mulan is large enough to swallow a school bus.
But we'll have to say that for another video that'll come out in 9,374 years. In the meantime, let's talk about the people. Now this is gonna get really fun. Denmark's people are really unique in their cultural, historical, and postmodern upbringing. First of all, the country has about 5.7 million people and is one of the highest taxed countries in the world. About 89% of the country identifies as ethnically Danish, about 11% are others. Some of the largest groups in the other category being the Polish, Germans, Turkish, Romanians, Iraqis, and Afghans. Now when it comes to Danish culture, there's a lot behind it, but in a nutshell, Vikings. Vikings pretty much had their start in what is now present-day Denmark, and whom pretty much dominated all of the Nordic regions as far as Newfoundland in Canada to Estonia, which is why most of the Nordic states and regions can pretty much understand each other when they talk. Danes, Swedes, Norwegians, and Icelanders can generally understand each other as they have the same basic linguistic structure. Sure, there are subtle discrepancies, but overall they can kind of get by conversationally. Granted, there's a saying, the Norwegian and Swedish languages sound like dancing fairies, whereas the Danish language sounds like a dude with a potato in his mouth. By the way, anybody who wants to learn Danish, full disclosure, it's gonna suck. The J makes the Y sound, the Y makes the U sound, the V makes a W sound, the R makes a R sound, the H is silent half the time, a ton of the letters are never even used, and don't even get started on A, U, and O. I kind of discovered a little trick though when I went to Denmark. When speaking Danish, all you really have to do is kind of like pronounce the first part of the word that you think makes a sound, and then just kind of like give up on the rest of the word. For example, Copenhagen, Nybroggen, Løvstrand. I'm literally just listing names of places in Copenhagen that I've been to. Honestly though, you really won't have much of a problem getting around if you speak English. Over 80% of the entire country, mostly the younger generation, speaks proficient English to the point where they don't even need subtitles when watching American TV shows and movies. Also, keep in mind, Greenland has its own language that is completely unintelligible, as it's an Inuit language closer to the indigenous Inuktitut and Yupik languages found in Canada and Alaska. And Faroese is pretty hard for most Danish people to grasp, as it actually has more words rooted in the ancient Norse language, and it's actually more intelligible to Icelandic. Back to culture though, Denmark has definitely left its mark, whether it's notable figures like author Hans Christian Andersen, philosopher Søren Kierkegaard, or whether...
How do you pronounce his name?
That's actually how you pronounce his name.
Wow.
It's not Søren Kierkegaard. Or whether it be the invention of the loudspeaker, or Legos, or their love of handball, their impeccable architecture, love of cuisine.
So y'all are the people we have to thank for the nightmare that is Legos, or loose Legos tossed around on the ground at night, and you have to walk around and just completely destroy the bottom of your feet. Thanks. Matter of fact, I think this is a weapon. They play it off like a toy to try to get it in every other country's households, but the truth is they're weapons. That way when they go to battle you, they're all over the ground, and then you have to try to navigate through the landmine that is this Lego field, and by then you're already shot. So good on you, Denmark.
of the loudspeaker or Legos or their love of handball, their impeccable architecture, love of cuisine. Noma in Copenhagen, by the way, being voted the best restaurant in the world with plates that feature live ants and moss. If you're really gonna get a feel for Danish culture though, you kind of have to know about janteloven and hygge. The funny thing is, Danes are kind of brought up in a social mindset that is kind of integrated into their subconscious, known as janteloven, which kind of translates to something like, you are not better than the crowd, which I know sounds kind of depressing, but it's really trying to instill a sense of equality and communal cooperation. Hygge translates to something like spend good times with friends and family, and it's like a cozy thing. Of course, Denmark is known for being ranked one of the happiest overall countries, even though they are also kind of one of the highest ranked consumers of antidepressants as well. But hey, they still pull off everyday life looking oh so good, even if it's during one of those really loud annual emergency drills.
Okay, Christine, explain what's happening right now.
Denmark is testing the sirens for warfare. Yeah, when we're being attacked by the Germans again.
I'm scared. I'm really, really scared right now.
Let's run to the security basement.
The Germans are coming! Speaking of Germans. Now, we all know that one person we're all kind of jealous of because they're kind of rich, well-adjusted, and have a ton of friends, and they're like kind of good-looking. Well, that's Norway. Denmark is a little bit rockier. No, but seriously, for such a small nation, Denmark has a huge entourage of friends, and it's almost kind of hard for anyone in the world to dismiss them at a party. As a founding member of the EU and NATO, Denmark has had roots planted in diplomacy for decades. First off, Denmark generally gets along with Germany. Business between the Germans is a hugely integral part of their economy, and Denmark acts like the gateway to Scandinavia for them and the rest of Europe. The US and the UK are incredibly close as both tangible and cultural imports have been established for centuries. For a while, the Danes even took over parts of the UK, which is why to this day the English language still retains hundreds of Old Norse-derived words like leg, dog, and window. The closest friends, though, would have to be the Nordic countries, Finland, Sweden, Norway, and Iceland. These four are without a doubt Denmark's closest friends, even though Sweden and them have kind of had more wars and battles historically than any other two states in the world. They've moved on and grown up. Out of the Nordic countries, though, Norway would probably be considered their best friends. Danes are obsessed with Norwegians and often consider Norway the girlfriend they took away from Sweden. In conclusion, Denmark is the rich, rainy rascal that always seems to show up on time for every party, but somehow gets all his work done in an organized, efficient manner. Stay tuned, Djibouti is coming up next.
Alright, so you guys have to let me know whether you want me to jump over to Spain and Portugal and do those, or if you want me to continue the Scandinavian countries. Like I said, I don't know if this is actually a Scandinavian country. I have to look up the term Scandinavian to make sure that I'm using it right, because I don't know if that word means what I think it means. But let me know if you want me to continue that. That A at the end of the word camera is really getting to me. Yeah, whatever. Let me know if you want me to continue the Nordic countries, or if you want me to go and jump back to Spain and stuff like that. But again, very informative video. I look forward to seeing what any Danish people in the comment section has to say. I remember doing a reaction to a comedian. I'm not going to even attempt to try to pronounce his name because I will completely destroy it. But he was from a Nordic country, and I will try to have a link if I could. Well, I know I can find it. I'll have a link or a card somewhere up here that'll pop up so you guys will know what I'm talking about. But I believe he was from Denmark, or was it Norway? Oh, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. He was from a Nordic country. This is a Nordic video. I will have a link for his video in the card. There you go. Click it and find out. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, I love watching Geography Now videos because not only does it, teach you things that you don't really know too much about, but it explains cultures and what makes each country an individual, what makes each country unique. And that is something that I truly love to study and learn about, because that's what makes the world special, in my opinion. I mean, variety is the spice of life, and countries with very unique things are they're just doing it right. Now, like I've said before, I don't know exactly what America's culture is, because the whole point of our culture is that we're a mixture of many other cultures. We're called the melting pot of the world for a reason. But maybe, I don't know if it's because I live here my entire life, but it just doesn't feel unique. And I'm assuming it must be because I live here, because I kind of feel the same way about Britain. Like, they have things that are very, well, not unique to them, but they have cultures that they take very serious, like tea and things like that. But America, we don't really have that. College sports. College sports is our uniqueness. That is where we separate ourselves from the rest of the world. No other country in the world takes college sports as serious as the United States does. We will cut somebody over some college sports, in particular college football. But with that being said, I hope you guys like this video, and I hope you guys like America's uniqueness. Go Buckeyes. But with that being said, I'm Devon DaVinci. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share. I didn't say this before, but I want to really encourage you guys. Go watch the original link, or the original video. It's in the link in the description box down below. Click it, watch it if you haven't seen it already. If you don't want to watch it twice, then right click it, open it in a new window, and have it playing in the background while you play on the internet, whatever the hell you're planning on doing next after this video ends. And that way the video can be played while you're doing whatever you're doing, so they'll get their view, and you don't have to really worry about watching the video a second time. But with that being said, I've said that 3 times. But let's go ahead and wrap this up. If you want to show my channel some support, the best way you can do it is hitting that like button, subscribing, becoming a part of the Renaissance crew, which is the subscriber base. Soon it'll probably move on to something, well, I'll keep Renaissance crew on YouTube. It'll be the subscriber base. I'll have something more elite if I plan on creating some type of other membership thing. But for now, you can join the Renaissance crew by hitting that subscribe button. And be sure to share these videos to try to help expand the Renaissance crew. And I'm going to wrap it up. So I'm going to give you the deuces, and I'll see you guys in a future video. Deuces.